Good morning. My name is Maria Alessandro Llorente, and I'm going to speak our research titled Does the new mobile assisted showroomer consumer have ethical dilemmas? Identifying the ethical dilemmas in the behavior of the mobile assisted showroomer consumer. This research was carried out by Aurea Sobero Navarro, Eva Reinares Lara, Cristina Olarte Pascual, and me. Well, a technology is considered disruptive when it changes the basis of the competitive game by introducing a dimension where products did not previously compete. In the case of commerce, disruptive technology are constantly emerging aimed at both supply and demand. For example, virtual reality, augmented reality, digital wallets, or wearables. And to improve customer service, facilitate the purchase decisions, and lead the sector into an omnichannel environment. Offering a seamless shopping experience where the barriers between online and offline world are broken is the maxim of the omnichannel strategy, and technological devices are its great ally. In this context, the eruption of smartphones and their technological applications in the purchase process has resulted in an always connected consumer. In the situation we are in, after the appearance of COVID-19, 86.2% of consumers have declared to use their smartphones inside physical shops in the different stages of the shopping journey. For example, smartphones are used in store to compare prices, to look for opinions about a product, to redeem discount coupons, to pay, or to see how a garment fits without trying it on. This behavior is known as showrooming, where products information is collected in the physical shop and the purchase is made through online channels. More specifically, the smartphone showrooming binomial leads to a new category of consumer called mobile assisted showroomer, MAS, MES, who seeks an omnichannel and an autonomous shopping experience by shopping via smartphone while visiting physical shops. Previous literature has distinguished between the competitive and traditional showroomer consumer. The difference between them lies in the retailer where the purchase is made. While the competitive showroomer seeks product information from retailer A and buys online from retailer B, the traditional or loyal showroomer changes only the channel but not the retailer. Previous literature indicates that in-store smartphone use is an important indicator of competitive showrooming behavior, so this study assumes that mass present this behavior. Competitive showrooming inherently implies an ethical component. This behavior involves purchasing a product without a payment to the retailer from whom we take information, and consumers are expected to be less likely to participate in activities they consider unethical. But does the new consumer mobile assisted showrooming have these ethical dilemmas? What is clear is that this technology has modified traditional business model, challenging the dominant ethical and moral patterns. In this sense, smartphones stimulate online shopping within the physical shop itself and are responsible for impulsive behavior. These consumers prefer to interact with their smartphones than with the sales staff in the shop. It has been shown that involving shop personnel in the consumer's mass purchase process generates distract and uncomfortable behavior when their consumption habit is considered. In the field of the circular evolution of ethics, what an individual considers ethical influences his or her behavior, and over time, the behaviors he or she observes influence what he or she believes to be ethical. What has happened in the case of the smartphone in the physical shop is that it has gone from being a socially unapproved behavior, even in many shops there were signs providing its use, to being an standardized and accepted behavior. In a recent study, we found that 79% of the Spanish population declares to use or consult their smartphones in their purchase process in the physical shop. From the point of view of applied ethics, it is known that decision and action are often guided by specific ethic perceptions of the context rather than absolute consideration of what can or should be done. In addition, and according to the physiological contract theory, decision making is subjective. Consumers make decisions like those made by other individuals in the sense of absolute rules of what can and cannot be done. The new omnichannel environment makes it easier and more convenient for consumers to use their smartphone at the point of sale. This use allows the offerer to have perfect information about the consumer who has accesses his open network at the point of sale. Is the mass consumer aware of the information he's given? That he or she reflect on the risks related to the use of smartphones? It should be noted that the use of smartphones in general entails ethical dilemmas, such as those arising from security and data protection issues and informed consents. We must also ask ourselves about the possible change in behavior and the autonomy of the consumer. Is the consumer more dependent on the information provided by his or her mobile phone and therefore less autonomous and free? All this should have an effect on personal identity and resource allocation. Ethical beliefs depend on individual factors such as gender, age, educational level, as well as certain situation-specific factors. It is clear that a decade ago, the ethical beliefs about the use of the smartphone in the shop were clearly different from those of today. To understand mass behavior and to answer all the questions raised, this research is based on the composite multidimensional ethics scale, which considers that individuals use 5 dimensions to make ethical judgments: moral equity, relativism, utilitarianism, egoism, and contractualism. All items were measured using a Likert scale ranging from 0 to 10. Moral equity is the individual perception of fairness and justice, as well as what is right and wrong in its broadest sense. Relativism, perception that what is correct is based on guidelines embedded in social, cultural systems, rather than on individuals' consideration. Utilitarianism, an action based on cause and benefits analysis, such that the action will bring about the greatest good for the greatest number. Egoism, acting in a manner that promotes only one's own long-term self-interest. And contractualism, individual perception of what is right versus wrong based on notion of an implied contract that exists between business and society. The information was collected through semi-structured personal surveys applied to a sample of 217 Spanish mass consumers who used their smartphone at physical stores to look information, compare price, compare products, read reviews by other shoppers, share photos, reading coupons, or pay. Additionally, a quantitative and qualitative information treatment was carried out. There you can see the main characteristic of the sample. The purpose of this study was to measure the ethical judgments of the new consumers' mobile assisted showroomer, and the most relevant contributions are related to the questions that were raised at the beginning of the study. Is the new consumer mass competitive or loyal? Although it's impossible to generalize a behavior to the entire population, it's possible to establish a pattern through the degree of agreement or disagreement of the participants. There seems to be a clear relationship between age and the tendency towards being and or approving competitive showrooming behavior. The younger the age, the greater the approval of this purchase behavior. For those who approve this conduct, the ethical image of the act itself is relegated to the background, only evaluated after the economic interests of the person. And the second one, does the new consumer mass have these ethical dilemmas? Well, all dimensions of the mass scale affect the ethical judgment of the mass to a greater or lesser extent. The global means for its items are close to the intermediate point of the scale, the 5. So which indicates a clear indecision when assessing a certain character of the scale. We can say it's ethically indifferent. Utilitarianism is the most important dimension for mass consumers. One possible explication to this is that when more is known about the smartphones, ethical judgment focuses more on whether they are useful in terms of their benefits versus their associated cost and inconvenience. However, ethical judgments are clearly conditioned by the age and gender of the sample. In general, for both genders, from the age of 36, they consider competitive showrooming less ethical than the lower age groups, ethically against. It has been observed that ethical judgment is directly proportional to age. The group of men from 18 to 35 years old appears the most related to competitive behavior. We can say that they are ethically in favor, as they show high average compared to the rest of the groups. Uh, and that is all. Thank you very much for your attention.